I'm Sapna Kumar. I'm a lecturer at Duke Law School, and I'm really glad to be here. GPL version 3 has been a lot of fun watching it slowly unfold and watching all the cat fights that have gone on during the different versions that have come out and almost at the finish. What I really want to focus on today is the threat of patents. I had originally planned on talking more generally about the license, and then Microsoft came with their 235 patents and all hell broke loose. And so I kind of feel like that this is the real threat that's going on, and this is where GPL v3 is going to meet its first test. So that's how I chose that. Just to kind of start things out, I didn't mean to make Torvalds look fat there. It's just a bad formatting. V2 versus V3, the ideology divide. Just getting to where we are now with that sort of being in the end stages of the license of V3 coming out, we've seen a huge divide go on, and because this is a Linux users group, I think it's appropriate to kind of give a nod to it or mention it at least. We have on one hand the Torvalds camp, which, and granted this is my own opinion, so feel free to jump in, disagree, or make catcalls, but we see Torvalds taking almost more of a libertarian approach, saying that the point of the license, the point of the GPL isn't about snuffing out proprietary software per se, but rather giving open source a chance to show its superiority and to prevail in the marketplace, basically to create more good software. And then you've got Stallman, who recently we saw go to Cuba. Some will say leans socialist, some will say embraces all the camps, depending on what your perspective is. But basically you have the idea that proprietary software is morally wrong. It's kind of where you get into flame wars between FOSS versus open source, whether you're having a sort of moral imperative with your license or whether you're just looking for a legal document that at the end of the day will help you license your code. GPL3 is a compromise, really, for both of these camps. I mean, there's been a lot of input that's gone on through the whole development of V3. I mean, IBM's had their say, Red Hat's had their say, lots of small users have too. So we at least, we're kind of seeing the two sides come together a bit, but Torvalds is still saying a lot of nasty things on the listserv, so we'll see if the kernel ever makes it over to V3 or not. So what does V3 fix? Before I get into the evil patent stuff, I just want to give a little bit of an overview here. Right now with the patent provision that we have, the part of it that I like the most as a lawyer is that if somebody is licensing you software under the GPL and then they turn around and try to sue you with their patents, you now have protection. And in the US, this actually isn't too big of a deal because courts generally don't let people give away their stuff or purport to give away their stuff that people can use and then turn around and say, oh, by the way, you have to pay me for it. But it's important in that the GPL is used internationally, and not every country gives that protection to its citizens. So I think that that's a major breakthrough. Apache compatibility, that's kind of a 11th hour thing that we got that only came out in the last call draft. But the fact that they were able to hammer out their differences, I think, is a big step forward. Clarifying who's entitled to the source code. I apologize to those who are at the CarolinaCon talk because I already mentioned this briefly, but there's sort of a misconception, and V2 doesn't make this clear, that if you don't have you're not in possession of software, you can't just go and knock on the door of an open source developer and say, hey, give me your source. You have to have a copy of the object code first, and then the license gets triggered, and then you can go and request the source code.